Abby, are you ready? Yeah. We're going to go ahead and get started tonight. We're going to start with the invocation given by Pastor Ricky Chambers of the Community Church. We're going to follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could please stand.
All right. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening, and we come to you humbly lifting up our community to you. We ask for your grace and your mercy to abound in and among us. And Father, I lift up each council member here and our mayor and our city manager and our city staff. I thank you, Lord, for them. I thank you for their leadership in this community, their leadership throughout this year. Lord, would you bless them and continue to protect them and their families. And I just pray your guidance over this meeting and over the agenda set before them. Would you give them discernment and wisdom to lead wisely? Would you continue to provide for our communities, our public servants, provide for our elderly, our businesses, Lord, and those who have need in this time? Would you continue to pour out your blessings? We lift up our emergency responders to you, Lord, our police department, our fire department, and especially we lift up our new officers being sworn in today, Stephanie Chavez, Ronaldo Meza, and Gary Beer. Lord, we thank you for them, their commitment to protecting the city, keeping the peace. Lord, would you guard them in their steps and bless them in this new venture? So, God, we ask for your mercy and your healing. We ask for your blessing over this time and over this meeting. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. We'll call tonight's meeting to order. Can we get a roll call, please?
Present.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here. We're going to start tonight before we do the approval of the agenda. After posting the agenda tonight, we were advised by KCAPS that there is some additional financial assistance that was needed for an immediate need for Kingsburg and the Fresno County and surrounding areas. KCAPS hopes that the city can provide some financial assistance. In order for us to do that, KCAPS is going to be requesting assistance on tonight's agenda by consideration of the council. So the way that works is we need to first make a finding that these two things are going to happen, that there's an immediate need that we need to take action on to KCAPS upon their request for the additional financing, and two, that we need to make findings that the financial assistance came to the city after the posting. What that basically means for everybody is KCAPS is in need of some more money, given some things that are going on. The only way that we can accurately do that and do that in a timely fashion is by first making findings as a council to say that those two things are factual, and then we'll put it on the agenda, and then we'll have an open discussion about it, just for clarification. But so the first thing that we're going to ask council for tonight is to confirm that those are accurate findings, and we will need motions for that.
Motion to make those findings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So now that we have made those findings, we need to have a secondary motion that's going to take place to place this request onto tonight's agenda. We will entertain motions for that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that will now be added to the agenda. And we will move that to our first agenda item. So with that being said, I'm going to ask for an approval for the overall agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you guys for working through that process. It's a little bit different from this. First up, we have some presentation and informational reports by the police department. Police Chief Dayton, if you could come up, please. We're going to be swearing in and pinning the badges of 3 new officers, Stephanie Chavez, Ronaldo Meza, and Gary Beer. Chief, before you start, is this going to be your last swearing in?
I think so, sir. Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Good to be with you, especially for something fun like this. So, I'd like to first call forward Gary Beer. Gary, come on up. And as he's doing that, I'll tell you a little bit about him. Gary was born in Westlaco, Texas, and moved to California in 1967 so his father could help with the family monument business. Gary attended elementary and high school in Kingsburg and graduated in 1981. Gary attended Reedley College and received an Associates of Arts degree in criminology after that. Gary next attended Modesto Junior College and received his post Level 3 and Level 2 Reserve Officer certificates. Then Chief Jim Taylor hired Gary as a reserve police officer in August 1983. Gary attended the Tulare Kings Basic Police Academy at College of the Sequoias in January 1985, where he graduated fifth in his class. After graduation, Gary was hired full-time as a police officer by the Reedley Police Department. Gary handled 2 different canines while at Reedley as part of the department's SWAT team for 7 years and was assigned to the Fresno County Narcotics Enforcement Team as an investigator for 3 years while he was at Reedley. After 8 years of total service with Reedley, Gary joined the Fresno Police Department in September of 1993. Gary was assigned to patrol for the first 5 years and was a field training officer for 3 of those years. Gary was next assigned to traffic enforcement unit on a motorcycle, taking enforcement actions as well as investigating traffic collisions. This will be a repeating cycle here as we go. These motor guys, I don't know what it is. It's the boots or something, but they never get out of it. It's like the mafia, pulls them back in. Gary was promoted to sergeant in 2004 and went back to patrol. Gary was later assigned back to the traffic unit as a regional coordinator of the state-funded street racing grant. This gave Gary the opportunity to train other officers throughout the Central Valley in the street racing culture and also ride a motorcycle. He returned to patrol after the grant ended and eventually was assigned to supervise one of the district crime suppression teams and also supervised the K-9 and mounted patrol teams. Gary was later reassigned back to the traffic unit to supervise a 10-man DUI enforcement squad. The motors, okay. After supervising hundreds and hundreds of DUI arrests, an opportunity opened and he began supervising a 10-man enforcement and accident investigation squad. This squad also handled collateral duties as a mobile field force as well. Page 2. All right, Gary. In 2021, with retirement looming, Gary returned to patrol to finish his career. Gary had a great time supervising lieutenants, officers, wagon drivers, detectives, cadets, and all other forms of human beings. Gary retired at the end of 2023 after being allowed to serve in 2 different centuries, 5 separate decades, over 40 years. As a Kingsburg resident, Gary tells me his intentions when he rejoined the Kingsburg Police Department as a reserve officer is to give back to his community in the best way possible. This spirit of service has guided him throughout his career in law enforcement, and he just continues to serve, and we appreciate that very much, Gary. Thank you. Gary's been married to his wife, Stephanie, for 19 years. They have 1 daughter, Emily, who is a senior at Kingsburg High School. In his leisure time, Gary likes to shoot clay targets competitively, hunt and fish when time permits, and travel more now that he is retired. With Gary tonight are his daughter, Emily, and his wife, Stephanie, and his mother, Jerry, and they will be pinning his badge. Okay, next I'd like to call up Officer Ronaldo Meza. Ron Meza was born and raised in Carruthers after graduating from Carruthers High School. Ron attended Fresno City College, where he completed some coursework. During this time, he realized that he had a calling to serve and enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. Ron served in the Marine Corps from 2018 to 2022. During this time, he was stationed in Okinawa, Japan. While stationed there, Ron participated in the United Nations mission in Mongolia and completed 2 deployments with the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, serving as a helicopter raid team leader. After his service in the Marine Corps, Ron wanted to be closer to his family and fulfill his dream of becoming a law enforcement officer. Ron returned to the States in May 2022 and re-enrolled in school full-time while also working full-time at a high school. Ron attended the Fresno City College Police Academy in January 2024 and began his employment with the Kingsburg Police Department a few weeks thereafter as a police recruit. Ron graduated from the academy in June 2024 and successfully completed his field training. Ron is currently on patrol the patrol officer on weekends and serves as the acting officer in charge on a couple of days of those weeks, couple of days a week. Ron is also enrolled in college full-time, working towards earning his bachelor's degree in history. In his free time, Ron enjoys training his horse Victoria or going on runs with his dog Hercules. That's an awesome name. I asked him if he brought Hercules, and that would have been terrific, but no, he didn't. Ron says he is grateful to work in Kingsburg and loves serving the community here. Ron plans to plans to continue working here and being an active part of the community. The person pinning Ron tonight is Johnny Fisher, one of his recruit training officers from the academy, and he's also joined by his mother, Rosa, father, Jose, sister, Rosemary, and sister, Marinella. Did I get that right, Marinella? Yes, thank you. Right. I worked on it earlier. All right. Welcome, Ron. Guys, make a little bit room for Stephanie. Stephanie Chavez, come on up. Born and raised in Reedley, Stephanie Chavez graduated from Reedley High School, then attended Fresno State, where she earned a bachelor's degree in criminology with an emphasis in law enforcement. While at Fresno State, Stephanie enrolled in the Criminology 108 Directed Policing Program. One of my students there while I still have that program. Stephanie completed modules 3 and 2 with the Fresno Sheriff's Academy and then completed module 1 at the Fresno City College Police Academy. Stephanie graduated the next semester from Fresno State and then went to work at the Kerman Police Department, where she served as a reserve police officer for 1 year. Stephanie is currently working as a full-time police officer with the city of Kingsburg, where she's eager to continue growing in her career and making a positive impact on the community. While Stephanie understands that she may not be able to change the entire world, she believes she can make a meaningful difference by helping those in need, ensuring community safety, and upholding the law to create a safe and peaceful environment. Outside of work, Stephanie enjoys spending time outdoors, discovering new coffee shops, hanging out with her family and friends, and her dog Bear, which is also a cool dog name. Stephanie feels incredibly grateful for her strong support system, especially her family, who have been with her every step of the way. Stephanie is joined here tonight with her family, her sister Lizette Aguilar, her brother Daniel Chavez, and her mother Enadina and father Daniel Chavez, who will be pinning her badge. Welcome to you all. Go back over. Get all you can. Madam Clerk, would you administer the oath?
You raise your right hand, repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Gary, if you'd step to the center of the well and if Gary's family could come up and pin his badge. Get some pictures with council and if your family wants to say that's great. We're gonna do this 3 times, guys.
One, two, three.
Mayor's, you still there? The mayor stepped out here. The mayor's hand was my sergeant. Okay, if I could have Officer Mace's family come forward.
Oh, it's okay. Them first, them first. Immediately.
Ready? One, two, three. City council, you wanna please on there?
Yeah. Here. Again, thank you, Mayor Purcell and members of the council. Appreciate your indulgence on this. I know it's a fun time for everybody. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Chief, thank you. And Chief, also thank you. I know you're going to have your kind of farewell tour over the next few months, but these are awesome. We love the way you do them. We're super thankful for you and everything you do. Welcome to the new officers. I think it's all this is a testament to you. So thank you for everything you've ever done for Kingsburg. You're going to hear a lot more, but I'm not going to miss any chances to say that. Any other council members want to say anything before we move on?
I just wanted to say something to our new officers. You joined a family when you joined Kingsburg. I don't know if you probably know this, but in Kingsburg, I think it's called Adopt a Cop that we have. So every one of you are assigned to a church in town, and this community prays for you. We pray for your safety because you are our protectors here. And I just want you to know that this community takes your safety into account and you're prayed for.
Yeah, I just want to say congratulations to all the new officers. It's good to have Gary back here in Kingsburg, serving our community. Went to high school with Gary and known him a long time. And welcome to our new officers. And just want to let you know you've come to the greatest little city in California, Kingsburg. Thanks for serving our city.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to all the officers here. We appreciate every one of you and what you do for the community. And I also know that you guys fit in the community because when I pass you on the road, I'm always waving. You're always waving back. So you got the Kingsburg experience. So it's great. Thank you.
No, these are exciting. It's always so nice to see a full council chamber. We enjoy welcoming you here, and we are very fortunate to have such a wonderful police department here in town. Thank you all.
Thanks again, guys. And so if anybody wants to learn how to be a good old school cop, Gary Beer is your guy. 100%. Thank you for sticking around, Gary. I genuinely mean that. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you for your kind words. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Chief.
You guys are welcome to stay, but I assume a lot of you will filter out about this line. See you guys.
Thank you all for being here.
Give everybody just a minute. On the agenda this evening. It's the policy of the council not to answer these questions impromptu. Speakers should limit their comments to not more than 3 minutes. For items which are on the agenda this evening, members of the public will have a separate opportunity to address the council as those are brought up. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak to items that are not currently on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment. And we're going to move on to the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are considered routine and include a recommendation from staff that shall be acted on in one motion of the council. If a council member requests additional information or would like to pull an item for discussion, that item shall be pulled from the consent calendar and acted upon separately. A motion to approve the consent calendar is deemed to include a motion to waive the full reading of any ordinance or resolution on the consent calendar. Tonight, we have consent items 1 through 10. Do we have any members of the council that would like to pull any items from consent? Do we have any members of staff that would like to pull any from consent? Do we have any members of the public that would like to pull any of the consent items 1 through 10? Seeing none, we will entertain a motion for the consent calendar.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Consent passes. Thank you. And next, we will move on to our regular calendar item. A little bit out of order, we are going to move forward to the consideration of the one-time donation to KCAPS. This staff report brought to you by Councilmember Laura North. Thank you.
Thank you. This is my first time being in charge of the agenda items.
Do you want to stand over there or do you want to stay where you're at? I love it.
Have to lean in further. Good evening, Council. My name is Laura North, and I'm a resident of Kingsburg. I am bringing this to Council for consideration. Our city takes pride in being a community that takes care of its own. At this time, our local nonprofit partners, KCAPS, who continues to receive monthly funding in the amount of $5,500 from the healthcare district, also is supplementing roughly an additional $10,000 a month, and this was before the government shutdown. In recent weeks, however, they've seen a sharp increase in demand. For example, when they're open for 3 hours from 9 to 12, they normally see approximately 5 families. On Monday, when I talked to Ida at KCAPS, they had seen 25 families in this amount of time. There are 2 primary drivers for this surge. The first is the federal government employees across the U.S., including those working in our region, have not received a paycheck since October 1st. Nationwide, estimates show roughly 900,000 federal workers are furloughed due to the shutdown. The second is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP benefits, for many Californians have been cut or delayed as a result of the shutdown, and related funding are uncertain. In California, the average monthly number of SNAP recipients in fiscal year 2024 was approximately 5.38 million, representing 13.6% of our state population. Within Fresno County, that's roughly 46% of our adults that are living in households that receive SNAP benefits. These numbers underscore the urgent need for locally based assistance for programs like KCAPS. The proposal that I want to bring before council tonight is that we approve a $10,000 one-time donation to KCAPS this month of November to bolster their capacity to meet this increased demand. Further, should the federal shutdown persist into December and beyond, the item should return to council agenda monthly for review of an ongoing need and then a determination of additional support. This immediate response will help increase our service to local demands. It demonstrates Kingsburg's commitment to standing with families that are impacted by factors that are currently beyond their control. This leverages the existing KCAPS infrastructure which we don't have, but they have, with additional temporary funds to bridge this period of crisis. This positions the city as a proactive partner in local human services, potentially reducing reliance on emergency services and stabilizing households within our community. I'm asking that the council adopt the following motion. It's right there before you. Want to hear from?
Yeah, come on. If you could just, for the record, just say who you are.
Ida Rushing, the Executive Director of Kingsburg Community Assistance Program and Services, KCAPS. I was just thinking today, I work the office today because our team is really busy. As of Monday to today, we saw 68 people, and 7 of them today were new. 4, I believe, were furloughed, and the other 3 were SNAP benefit recipients, and none of them had ever been to CAPS. So there is a need. There definitely is a need. And we saw the increase earlier on with the increase of like the food, but it started at the end of like mid-October, like around the 20th, where I think people were getting afraid or scared that this was coming. And in 2 days, we saw like 45 people. And it was right before my board meeting, and I'm like, okay, this is getting serious. And we were blessed with the 5,500 from the Kingsburg Hospital Foundation, but then I've noticed like we're ordering so much more, and we do provide really good things that we purchase. We want to be able to give our families food that they can actually use. So we provide potatoes, eggs, milk, and all these, things that they can actually eat, not junk food or anything like that, just in case someone's wondering. And that's what we ask some people donate to get that.
Okay. Can you, before we kind of bounce off more questions, not everybody's going to be familiar with the program. Can you get just a little bit closer to the microphone and just explain briefly in like a 2-minute version how this program works for families that are in need or for people that are in need, how often you disperse, what you're dispersing, where the funding comes from?
Yes.
Just a real quick overview.
Yeah, absolutely. Most of the funding, it's been 2 years. This is the second year that the Kingsburg Hospital Foundation gave us $5,000. Then this year they gave us $5,500. But most of it comes from the people in the community or CAPS, the sales of the thrift store, whatever's left over, that's what we use. But it's the generosity of the people of our community that donate. They either donate food or they donate funds. So that's where that comes from. And when people ask, well, how do you know they really have a need or that kind of thing? Well, we service Kingsburg, Traver, and London. And I will tell you that I literally have to go out and find the people from Traver and London. The people in Kingsburg probably come the most. The majority is Kingsburg families that we are serving. I'm not sure why. I think a lot of in the two little rural communities, which I grew up in, I feel, because I grew up in that community in Traver, that maybe just a little bit proud or they don't know about it or, I don't know. But anyways, we are serving Kingsburg a lot of Kingsburg families. And when they come in, we ask them to show proof of residency. So it's not just anybody that walks in our doors. We do have resources for other communities because now we're seeing a lot of people from different communities. So we're providing them with resources. And then they fill out some paperwork. We meet that need. And then we personally, I have a social worker and an emergency service staff. They go out and do home visits. And it's not like we're going to go spy on you. I mean, the families may need something else that they didn't tell us, but we are going out and visiting our families, and there really is a need.
Thank you. Council discussion on this item?
You have a question. So you said that when they come in, they have to have an ID, Kingsburg ID, and then you also help out people from other communities?
No, Traver in London.
Oh, just Traver in London.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because we have 2 sites, and the reason, I started 22 years ago here, I really felt like we needed a model Kingsburg in Traver and London. Traver because all the kids from Traver come to Kingsburg
Kingsburg,
High.
yes.
And some from London as well.
Okay, I must I thought you said that, but I see if they have an address from Trevor, London also. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, great. Thank you.
I have a couple questions, Mayor. Can you tell me a little bit more about the funding? I mean, I know you say that you get it from the people in the community and the thrift store, but do you also get any other grant besides the healthcare district, any state or
No, sir.
federal, any assistance from, say, the county food bank or?
We do a neighborhood market from Fresno Food Bank in Traver. But normally I don't, and that's free to anyone who wants to come out to Traver, and it's kind of like a drive-through thing. But anything that the Fresno Community Food Bank, we would purchase from them. So they're not giving it to us free, only for the Traver neighborhood market that anyone can go to. So I personally don't like to take government type things all the time because they put kind of this is what you can do with it. And I just want to be trusted that we're doing the right thing without having that stipulation of, wait, you can't do that, but you can do this. So that's why we truly try to raise our own funds. And CAPS has never really had a fundraiser. We truly believe it is the Lord that is blessing our organization and this community. It truly is this community. We're having our big food drive November 10th through the 17th. That used to carry us through to February or March. It carries us like maybe the end of December. But no, we did not ask for that grant from Kingsburg Hospital Foundation. They actually came to me and just were asking about what we did and how we did it in terms of the food. And then they asked me to go in and they said they were going to do that. And this year they added the 500, which we felt really blessed about.
Yeah, I guess since there is this need, I mean, hopefully the federal government politicians get their act together and solve this relatively quickly so these people can get the benefits that they applied and were receiving. So I guess this is something that's a temporary solution, but if it is a prolonged period of time, how is your business model going to sustain that and be sustainable?
I was talking to one of my board members about that. We're going to have to meet if this is something, I'm not exactly sure. It's just like, it just hit us within the last 2 weeks. We'll talk about it and we will figure it out, but we will not, maybe we're going to buy what we do now. We provide a lot of groceries for families. We really do. So I just went in and talked to the team. I said, instead of giving like the entire 10 bags of potato, 10-pound bag of potato, we're going to make it smaller. We're going to split so that we can feed more people.
Okay. All right. Nothing further, Mayor.
Okay, you said how many people are you seeing lately? I was just wondering how much numbers wise, how many families you're seeing now compared to, I don't know, a few months ago?
Yeah. Okay. So about a year ago, it was like we see 5 or 6 in the morning, and we were only open in the morning 9 to 12. Now we're open all day. We just take the hour for lunch. Then we started to see the increase in the cost of groceries and things like that, and people were getting where they couldn't really afford it, so they were coming. This last year, we are seeing 15 to 20 families, but in the last few days, like today, I saw like 20 something. So that's the growth, and that's daily. That's daily. So let's say 20 families a day. Again, I specified on this little thing that I was going to share. This growth reflects the growing economic strain on families across Kingsburg, Traver, and London. Many are facing higher food prices, job insecurity, and delays in benefits. So like we had several people come in because of the job insecurity. They're working right now, but they're not getting paid. They're, working for government entities. And they don't want to be here. They don't want to come to CAPS. They've never been to CAPS. They've never had to. They're really worried about it.
Are you seeing any military families yet?
I have a military family, And they gave me a phone call because they're in San Diego and they're kind of scared. It's my daughter, actually. And so she says, I wish I had CAPS here with 4 children. So that kind of made me sad, you know, and he's a military officer, a naval officer. And, you know, I said, I wish you did too. But I haven't seen any come into CAPS.
So this being city tax dollars, I did appreciate you saying that, you know, that anytime we're going to give city of Kingsburg residents tax dollars to anything, I like to see it go to the city of Kingsburg residents in needs. From everything you've said, it sounds like you're doing that. And I'll be honest, when this was first approached by Councilmember North, I didn't know how supportive I was because I didn't realize the need. So thank you to Councilmember North for educating me on that and moving forward with this. My last question to you is just how can, outside of council, how can people in town help? What's the best way to give? What's the biggest need you have? Is it food? Is it money? What is the easiest way for you?
Right now, because of the food drive, I spoke to Adam earlier and I said, push that food drive, just keep pushing it, your social media, whatever. But it is money because we actually know what our people need and what we want to purchase. So any financial assistance is very helpful. And, you know, again, our community is amazing, amazing. I had one of our community members. I love him. He comes in, he's like, I bought $500 worth of candy to give the kids. He's like, I felt so guilty. So here's $500. I'm matching it himself. We had people bring beans and rice. I mean, I've had people handing me checks on the street saying, here, I had to just use it. I know you guys need it. So.
Can they sign up for monthly giving?
Yes, they can. They can go to our website. It's caps.net. And we also, I think I posted on our Facebook and my personal Facebook, CAPS Facebook, mine, there's a QR code that you can just, and it'll directly take you to that. Yeah.
Let's open this up to public comment. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak to this? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to council for any final discussion or motions. Any other thoughts? Yeah, Alex, is this something that we can put on the city's newsletter that goes out? Maybe add the QR code for people to help?
Yeah, there's an article planned for tomorrow about the food drive and the Kingsburg Carrier, and then there'll be some social media next week as well. It starts on the 10th.
Any other council discussion? If not, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. And I want to invite you guys. I know when you said you were unsure, I want to invite you to CAPS, to go see it, to take a tour, to get the feel. Because I mean, I've had volunteers who sit at the desk and they tell me, I didn't know you guys did this much. So just so that you understand what you're giving to, and it's really truly to your own community. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. Okay, next we'll move on to item number 11, which is the Measure E renewal ballot language discussion. Staff report by City Manager Alex Henderson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This continues our discussion with regards to Measure E, which is the 1% public safety tax that was passed on June 5th, 2018, with 72% support. The measure went into effect on October 1st, 2018 for a period of 10 years. And unless extended, the measure will expire on September 30th, 2028. As the renewal process moves forward, the next step for the council will be to select appropriate ballot language for consideration. And so I have a presentation tonight that will go over that. No action is needed this evening, as council will have the opportunity to give formal direction at the November 19th regular meeting. So tonight is for discussion and to invite community input. We've also included impartial analysis and argument in favor that were submitted as part of the 2018 effort for your review. And council will have the opportunity to provide a similar options as part of official consideration at our first meeting in January. Go over the presentation. So again, a quick background with regard to the actual measure itself and the proposed renewal vote planned for June 2nd of 2026. So Measure E originally was forecasted to generate roughly $1 million. Thankfully, it's well exceeded those projections, brought in $2.6 million for 24-25, and has generated over $16 million since inception. It's funded new employees, equipment, employee training, and a myriad of other options for both police and fire. So this evening, next steps over the next few months will be to start discussing ballot language, continue the community outreach on our end, ultimately prepare the ordinance and impartial analysis for the early part of 2026. And then after that will be to maintain compliance with the restrictions that BBK talked about once the campaign is underway. For your consideration tonight will be some options with regards to ballot language. So a few items that is limited to a 75-word question. Main things tonight are kind of the type of question to ask. One of the strategies potentially is loss aversion. So sort of the idea that people are more concerned about losing something than they are about gaining a similar amount. So there's some strategy with regards to how you phrase the ballot. And then, of course, the sunset clause. This is the original ballot language from 2018 that was passed. The law did change in 2019, which became effective in 2020, which requires certain words to be actually included in the question, which include shall the measure and then be adopted. And so you'll see that this evening with regards to the options that are available. So the options themselves, the first option, again, is more of that loss aversion, which is to avoid reductions to police and fire protection by renewing the existing 1-cent sales tax, originally Measure E, without increasing current rates, generating approximately $2.6 million annually for 30 years. Shall the measure to maintain emergency response times, retain public safety personnel, replace aging vehicles and equipment, and support 911 emergency response requiring independent citizen oversight, public reporting, and keeping 100% of funds local for Kingsburg residents be adopted. And then the second option is the same verbiage, except for it says generating approximately $2.6 million annually until repealed by voters. So that would be the no sunset language. So it includes one additional word. And then the third one is a little more like the first measure, which is shall the measure to continue maintaining public safety, emergency response, and neighborhood security, renewing the city of Kingsburg's existing 1-cent sales tax, originally Measure E, no increase, generating approximately $2.6 million annually for 30 years to continue funding additional police officers, firefighters, and paramedics, replace outdated safety equipment, and support 911 emergency response, requiring independent citizen oversight, public reporting, and keeping 100% of funds local for Kingsburg residents be adopted. And option number 4 is the no sunset language. So again, similar, but it says until repealed by voters. So again, key dates for this evening, just going over this again. So we received an initial presentation by BBK in August. We're underway with community outreach, including this evening. Starting the discussion about ballot language, and then council to provide direction to staff and BBK on that language so that they can craft the resolution and ordinance to be considered at our first meeting in January, which will then put us into the cycle for Election Day, which is June 2nd, 2026. So tonight, again, is just to receive feedback on items that you do like about this language, either of the options, discussion on the sunset, and again, just to continue to get feedback from the community and the council about particular items that you do want as part of the ballot language. That concludes my report, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Questions from council?
Questions?
Any other questions, council? Now we'll open it up to the public. Any public comments? Okay, we will bring it back for final council discussion. You're not seeking.
Do we need to discuss
Right.
options 1 and 2? Is that
as desired by staff. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'd just like to hear if there's a preference on the type of language that's being used. Sort of that loss aversion portion. And then also the sunset clause, obviously. So whether we want a sunset clause or a certain number of years, what those years are, or if you prefer the unless repealed by voters language.
So it's,
Or if you'd like us to put feedback out into the community, with it wouldn't be a scientific survey, but, sort of a survey monkey that asks for feedback over the next few weeks.
let's start with what are council's thoughts specifically on the sunset, no sunset?
I think the way that it's written, like if I was a voter and I saw 30 years, I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's a really long time. And if I saw that until repealed by voters, I'd be like, oh, if we don't like it in 5 years. I mean, the no sunset, the way it's written, I think is actually, to me, better in our favor for when voters read it. That's first thought.
Yeah. I have a hard time with the no sunsets. I really do. But I would like it to be longer. So I like the 30 years. That would be my preference.
I'm just going to share some comments because I have talked to some residents about that specific timeline in Measure E. Like, what would you be comfortable with? Which I found it interesting that the residents that I talked to couldn't give me a number. So I thought that was really interesting. They couldn't say, oh, only run it for 5 years, only do it for 10 years, oh, do it for 30, do it forever. They just kind of was like, well, I don't really couldn't answer how many years. So I like the fact that the voters, if they see merit in it, which I believe there's merit in it, I like the fact that they voted in, and I like the fact that they have the opportunity to vote it out, like Laura represented. So I appreciate 30 years because, everybody runs a 30-year mortgage. It seems like you're paying forever. But I like the fact that if things are going really well and we have what we need, or, and the voters go, hey, listen, we're firing on all cylinders, then we vote it out. But I like the fact that the voters could decide to vote it in and then have the ability to adjust it.
Yeah, myself, I kind of like the no sunset until repealed by voters, because most citizens here in Kingsburg know the value of Measure E. If they're paying attention, most people move here to Kingsburg because of how safe it is and, the response times and things. So, it could be 10, 15 years, could be 50 years. Residents are like, hey, why are we going to get rid of Measure E? Could be longer than 30 years. And I think here in Kingsburg, it probably will be. I mean, because there's a lot of value in Measure E. At least I hope it would last more than 30 years. So I kind of like the no sunset wording in this.
Turn my mic on. I struggle with no sunset. And if I'm being honest, I struggle with 30 years. The biggest reason for that is right now, today, this is 100% great for Kingsburg. But if I'm to walk back and have the council from 1995 tell us what Kingsburg looks like today, I don't know what they're going to say. And that's what we're saying. We're committing 30 years worth of tax dollars. That's a long time. I'd say that's kind of my upper threshold. It really is. And this is somebody who works in public safety. I get that 100%, but a no sunset, you're obligating your kids to this tax, not knowing what law enforcement even looks like in those times. I think that repealing a tax is not a simple process. I think if it was, we would probably see something different with the hospital. tax. I think that there's a reason that that sticks around is because no one's going to repeal a tax. So I think that the reality of repealing a tax is unlikely. I I like having a ceiling on a tax because although it's a long time, there is still a checks and balance in the future for a reevaluation. Without creating a committee that's going to repeal a tax, that's a lengthy process. So just for me personally as a taxpayer, I have a hard time strapping every generation after me with having to pay that tax, not knowing what the needs are in the future. But
One of the things I remember when we first passed this was there was some concern with how the money was going to be spent. So, I mean, along the lines of what Mayor Purcell's saying, we that's why I struggle with it. Where are we going to be? But who's going to be making these decisions in 30 years?
yeah, and right now it's perfect. I really think that. I think that our police department, I think our fire department, and I think that our city staff is managing this 100% accurately, and it's a huge need. I'll be the first one out there knocking on doors with you guys to get it done. I just have a hard time. I have a hard time with no sunset. I do fear that the no sunset that's going to be made public, and depending on how that is spun to the voters, you're going to potentially lose votes by not having a sunset. And I don't know that any risk in this is worth it. I hate to see us lose this by, I mean, if you take the school bond measure, I mean, that passed by a handful of votes. I would hate to see things come down to something like that and lose because of a no sunset clause. I think we have a very, very conservative voter base here who may not like that too.
So do you have a number that you're comfortable with? 30, 20, 10?
Yeah, I personally, I like a 20, but I understand the need for a 30. I do. I don't even know if we can do a 30 with the language of repeal by citizens to kind of get both in there. I don't know if that's an option. So there's a mandatory ceiling, but also the language in there of if it's unless repealed by voters, or is that kind of a given?
You mean like for 30 years unless repealed by voters?
Yeah. I just feel like that, even though if that even is an automatic thing anyway, I think that language is going to give a voter more feeling of control of their own tax dollars.
Yeah, I mean, I can ask the question. I think as long as it's under the word count, I don't think that's problematic. I mean, just I guess if I may, since we're talking about it, the challenge from a staff perspective about not having, from a planning standpoint, we're tying positions to this, so it feels from our perspective, my perspective personally, that if you're going to plan to put personnel on this and jobs on this, that you shouldn't tie it to a sunset. I mean, that feels like you're putting, there's challenges I think that we're having right now that some of our folks are worried about measuring not being renewed in 2 years and their potential for not promoting because they're worried that those positions could go away. So I think that's just something to consider. To Councilmember Smith's point, I know the worry is always a council or an administration in the future. I think that's the reason for having the citizen oversight. I think that's the reason for, I think like even if you put 30 years in, what happens in 10 years if they're not using it correctly, right? I mean, I would assume then hopefully that a citizen group would come forward and say, this is not working. This is not what we asked for. This is not what we voted for at that time. So those are just, I think, considerations for both sides of it. I think, 30 years is probably, 20 years is a long time too. But I don't know, to Councilmember Silva's point, if someone's voting or not voting for it, because of that timing. I don't know. You know, I do think it was a big consideration when you're putting a initial tax on. I also think it's different when it's a sales tax versus like a property tax. You know, the school bond is a property tax measure. You know, people are forced to pay it. So I just think all those things, you know, it might be worthwhile, you know, trying to figure out if there's more input, you know, through even just a brief survey or something from that perspective over the next couple of weeks before you guys have to make a final decision.
How long is it before you want a final on the sunset?
I mean, I think you know, preferably the 19th, but if we had to push before, you know, into the first meeting in December, I think they just want an adequate amount of time to be able to put together the ordinance. And if we're really just talking about those few words, then we can probably get everything else situated. And then it's just a matter of when the council feels comfortable. Ultimately, you won't vote on it, you know, to the resolution until the first meeting in January.
When we first started talking about this, how many years ago? 7, 8?
2018.
Okay, so when we first started talking about this, we talked about, oh my gosh, we talked about it for like, I feel like it was like a year to get it right. We talked about what type of tax to do. We talked about like a general tax. That's why we came up with the safety tax, because all of these things we talked about. What about future councils? What about future city managers? And we were worried that it might not be spent right unless we put these parameters. So that's when we came up with it as a public safety tax. So it couldn't be used elsewhere in the wrong way. Then when we first were talking about this on a sunset or not, we decided to put the sunset on it. And the reason we put a sunset on it the first time we did this was so that we could prove to the citizens that we were going to do right by them. So then when it came up the next time, we had already proven what we were going to do. I think because it's the safety tax, there are a lot of safeguards in how future councils or city managers could spend the money, because there's parameters on that. I am concerned about lessening a sunset for the reasons that Alex said, because I do think that it does tie our police and our fire, because it's tied to positions and it's hard to project. It's hard to make those decisions. And our sunset, the first sunset we did was not very long, right? So that makes it hard. So I like the until repealed by voters. If we get a terrible council, if we get long after Alex retires, a terrible city manager, they're not making good decisions, we still have the safety net of it's public safety that the money has to be spent on. Yeah, it would be hard, but we've also seen the citizens of Kingsburg stand up when they think something's not right and repeal something. So I think it needs to be like a long sunset. I mean, when you said 30-year mortgage, like, I'm like, oh gosh, that is a long time, right? But like until repealed by voters, when I read that, I don't know, it seems like less of a hit. Like if things are wrong, we can do it right away. I don't know what that process is, but I mean, we've seen the citizens do like a recall effort. We've seen them do all these other things. I think that if we're not doing right by our citizens, they're going to stand up and they're going to figure it out. So I would be in favor of no sunset, but it's saying until repealed by voters, or a long sunset, so that our public safety can feel secure and can really plan.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that the personnel stuff and the tying positions to it, I get that. Let's say if I was to counter that in any way, it would just merely be, it's not like it's a secret that it's coming up in 30 years. That's an entire career. So you could tie it to positions that start in 2025, and we're talking 2055 before those positions come up if it wasn't brought back up. My big fear is that it's going to be less appealing to the voters with no sunset forever tax. That makes me just a little bit nervous for them. Yeah.
I think that's a fair point, Mayor. I really do. But I really do like the option two language. I mean, it does state to avoid reductions to police and fire, and until it's repealed by the voters. And I'm in complete agreement with Councilmember North that we live in a little unique community. If people don't like the way things are going, we're hearing about it. Somebody's hearing about it. Everybody's hearing about it. And so I think that will get out pretty quickly. And I think that I wasn't part of the first Measure E, but I think, in my opinion, and from what I see and from what I hear from residents and constituents, is they're excited that Station 2 is staffed, and they like the police presence. I have people that come from out of town. They see it. They see you guys. You're cordial. You're professional. And I think that the departments and staff have proven themselves to the community that, hey, we're being good stewards of these tax dollars. We're doing it right. And you know what? If we'll go for another Measure E, and if you guys don't do what we think you should be doing, we'll repeal it. I like that language, and I think that it's fitting. So I'm in agreement with Councilmember North. I do understand Mayor Purcell's points too, that there's a lot of good things here to discuss, but I do like the option too, personally.
So kind of the consensus is option two. I think Councilmember North, Councilmember Silva.
Well,
I know you don't need.
Yeah, you guys certainly don't have to decide tonight. I do think one of the things to consider is what you think is I think, one of the challenges of this is trying to find language that, people who maybe aren't as engaged but are going to go vote, what concerns them, right? Or what will get you to vote while you're in the ballot, while you're in the ballot box. And so, I know it's a technical thing, but does 30 years feel harsher than until repealed by voters, right? So I think the ultimate goal for us here, everyone here obviously, is that, I think we've shown, it was what I like to call sort of a prove it contract 8 years ago. It's like, okay, this is a whole new tax. We're giving you this much length so that you can go show what you can do with it. The question becomes, what is, I think the goal is to pass it. And so what is the language that we think is palatable enough? And I'm not an expert on that, but I think sometimes you guys just spoke about the fact, just 30 years seemed like a really, really long time versus, until repealed by voters. Does that feel okay? Like we have more control, and not to be, trying to massage that too much. It's just, I think we all know the importance of the measure and think the departments are in a good spot. And regardless of what the language you guys select is, and, we've talked about this with the associations, they're going to have to get that message out, right? They're going to have to carry the water. They're going to have to explain what happens if it goes away. And, that work will have to come, you guys do ultimately make a decision.
I can speak. I'm interested in spending more time asking that specific question because I haven't spent a ton of time asking people that in the public in general.
I was just gonna say.
I appreciate Dave spending that time and talking to people about it. Because really, it's going to be what are you willing to vote for? What gets us a yes on this? Which version of this gets a yes?
Yeah. And Alex, you said you're going to do some outreach on this wording.
I'm happy to. I mean, if you want me to put the 4 ballot options just on in a general survey monkey and put it out there and see what people. And I have to figure out how to
something planned.
Maybe how to word that. What is your preference, or if there's. I probably want to talk to BBK, just making sure that we're following as much as we can to not have a vote before a vote. So just whatever that looks like, but.
Well, I know a lot. I'm like Brandon. I haven't really done a lot of outreach to citizens yet. Like Dave said, he has a little bit. And I think after tonight, we all should talk to a lot of constituents. And I think we'll have a better a better answer of what we'll find out what the citizens really want, for the wording next time we come back, when this comes up again for us.
Time to get back out and walk the precincts, huh? So are you good with the discussion?
Yeah, thank you.
Was there anything else on this specifically before we move on?
Informational only tonight, but if there is anything that comes up either from the community or from the council, here until next week, and then we'll, kind of pick it back up and hope if we need more time on the 19th, certainly have that, I think, opportunity until the first part of December, but just informational tonight.
Okay, now we'll move on to item 12, the crime stats report for July to September. Looks like we got Chief Dating back.
Good evening again, Mayor Purcell, members of the council. So nothing significant that you really haven't already read in the updates. Normally I try to highlight, one or two things, but we've probably given you quite a bit in the weekly, so I won't go over those again. I'll just give you an idea of what we've been doing. It's been pretty much an average quarter, even for a summer. Patrol officers handled 2,873 calls, made 73 arrests. This was obviously the summer months, so we had our share of vacations, trainings. Had some vacancies we worked on throughout the summer to fill. And we had some officers in field training, which kind of accounts for some of the low self-initiated numbers. And bring that one up, Bev. So for you to that one, as you guys know, I like to see the blue line at least meet the red line. The blue line is officer initiated. The red line is citizen initiated calls for service. So we were just a little bit more behind on initiating things ourselves, again, for those reasons of staffing throughout the summer. Thank you. We did have one fatal. Will be a next quarter stats. We all know Lennis and grief his loss. But I also want to point out that we've also seen some increases in vehicles versus pedestrians just this week, 4 of them thus far. Another fatal. And so I know, talk to Alex about that. We're going to have that before the traffic safety committee. And we're also going to take a look at that, the police department, see if there's any trend that we can see. I can't see just from what I know of it, but we'll take a look at that and see if we can either focus on education or enforcement if we need to. You know me, I like compliance. I don't care how I get it. It's easier to get it by education and just people volunteering to do it. But if I have to get it out of enforcement, so be it.
Were they both on Sierra, both fatalities?
No.
Okay.
Lettuce the other one was right here on Marion. We had, as far as hirings, we hired a new police officer and a nice young lady. She was here earlier. You might have saw her standing in the background with a big smile on her face. She graduated from the Tulare Kings Police Academy this quarter and began field training. So she's been a good addition to the agency. We've participated in a couple different community events. The Kingsburg Back the Blue Walk, where people started at Tom's Donuts and showed up at the police station with boxes and boxes and boxes of donuts. Tried not to let any soldier go noticed on that one. We participated in the Crayfish Festival. No issues or incidents reported on that. Some training that has been going on over the quarter. Railroad investigations, use of force training with one of the premier presenters in the state, Missy Olin, who's an attorney from Southern California. She does a really good job. Some forensic sexual assault investigation and prosecution, U.S. Attorney's Law Enforcement Leadership Summit. Myself and both Lieutenant Stevens and Lieutenant Salinas participated in that, and the Fresno Madera County Police Chiefs Association Executive Workshop. We also sent staff to the Women's Leadership and Law Enforcement Conference in Southern California, sexual assault training through the Presley ICI course, Command Leadership Institute, where Lieutenant Stevens is this week, and surveillance technique, as well as the Supervisors Leadership Institute. I've mentioned this before. It's an 8-month course that specifically for sergeants, a lot of reading, writing, and introspection on that. And Sergeant Carey just graduated from that, so we are pleased to attend his graduation a couple of weeks ago. We have some new equipment. We installed 10 flock safety license plate reader cameras at key locations throughout the city, and they're now fully operational. These cameras enhance our investigative capabilities and improve public safety overall. Lieutenant Salinas is going to come up and give you a briefing on that and kind of dig into the details and answer any questions if you have on the flock safety, and then I'll come back and wrap it up.
Mayor Purcell, council members, thank you. So back in March of this year, we met with Flock Safety Incorporated. They're a company out of Atlanta, Georgia, and they gave us a presentation of their cameras. What their cameras do is they basically are positioned throughout the city. They capture vehicle license plates, vehicle descriptions, vehicle make models, and they're stored on their servers. After we had that presentation, we basically took a map of the city. They met with us, and we settled on 10 cameras. The cameras are positioned in all entry and exit points of the city. They're not in the middle of the city, and the reason they do that is they want to capture cars that if they commit crimes, they do something, they got to leave town. These cameras will capture them coming in and coming out. So we got about 90% of the city covered with these cameras. These cameras are also, the company in California has about 300 agencies already under their agreement, which share data. Our data is put in their servers, and we decide who we share the information with. We decide who gets information from us, and same thing with them. If they don't want to share, they don't. And of course, we have to, there's state law that regulates who we can share it with. There's a lot of federal stuff that we can't do. So we got to make sure that information is not going out and used other than what it's made for. So we've had some pretty good success. There's at least 4 cities surrounding us that have already gone to the same flock system. Where these cameras are positioned is off of the roadway. I took a few calls early on when they were doing installs about why is there a camera outside of my backyard. They were thinking we were able to turn the cameras, look into their backyards and so forth. So I quickly advised them and let them know, no, that's not the case. These cameras are positioned in a way where they capture plates and vehicles only. We can't move them. We can't even go live feed on those. So we can't just turn them on and see what's going on in that intersection. Those things are totally secured and set. And basically we're using them for our investigations. Just 2 weeks ago, I don't know if you probably saw it on the weekly report, we had a grand theft of about $3,500 worth of car parts in the middle of the night. The officer quickly jumped on Flock, saw the vehicle at Sierra and Simpson, grabbed the license plate. Another thing we're able to do with this system is if we have a plate that we're looking for, we can do what's called the geofence around Kingsburg. Put that plate in there, and whenever that vehicle comes back into town, it notifies the officers, hey, the car just hit right here. And that's what happened on this case. The car came back into town. The following day, our officers took off out there. They found it, stopped it. We ended up getting 2 arrests out of it. We ended up finding a lot of unreported stolen mail from Kingsburg residents in there. So yeah, these people lived just outside of town, so they were using Sierra Street back and forth to get in and out of town. So that's kind of the investigation wise that we use these for. Any type of stolen vehicles that are taken are automatically entered in what's called the CLET system. And these cameras are connected to that. If those cars come into town, officers get notified, hey, there's a stolen car over here, which allows them to get down there and see if they can find the vehicle. So it's been very helpful for us for investigations. So That's really the gist of the system. And reason we don't have every intersection, of course, this is a trial basis to get going to see how much coverage we would have in the city. So far, it's been working pretty good. So if you guys have any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions about flock?
I have one more. Lieutenant Salinas, question pertaining to like the Amber Alert system, and does it integrate with the flock system also? So if there was an Amber Alert and there was a plate, would it automatically, if the flock picked up that plate, would it automatically say there's?
The plate would. Because
Yeah.
when you run a plate and there's, if they entered it correctly, if we run a plate, it'll give us a notification it's a wanted vehicle. And it'll tell us why it's wanted, not necessarily amber. It might say it's wanted. You look into it, it'll show missing person.
Okay.
Vehicles wanted for this. So it will give us a notification that it's a wanted vehicle. And then we would have to look a little further to find out why it's missing, why it's wanted.
Perfect. And did the flock cameras also integrate with like the cameras that would be on vehicle mounts as well? Like when the vehicles have the license plate identification technology?
Readers?
Yes.
License plate readers. So yeah, the LPRs, the license plate readers that are tow trucks, they're hotels, they're all over the place now. They get entered into the same system as the flock information. So they do talk to each other. So we know if we run a plate, it would tell us more or less where it was seen at one time.
Okay.
And then we have to do the additional follow-up to find out why it was ran and who ran it at that point.
Okay. That's all I have.
You have a question, Lieutenant? You said that you're not able to, you said that when that one car, the one vehicle that was, the car parts that were stolen, you had to go into the flock system. Now, do you have to notify somebody or is our officer able to go into it by himself?
No, we do it. So once the initial officer basically had a vehicle description. It was a compact hatchback vehicle. So he's able to go into the system and just put the vehicle description in there and the cars popped up. And it was within minutes of the theft, the car was going through that intersection. When it went through the intersection, it captured the plate. So once we had the plate in hand now, I went in there and put the geofence around the city with that plate. And the following day, when it came through, it notified us, say, the car's right here. So that's how we were able to get identified.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I think that's it for the flock.
Yeah, good.
We're good.
All right,
Like,
thank you.
just put a geofence all the way around the city all the time. Thanks. Minus the geo part. Yeah.
I just want to point out that Lieutenant Salinas and Lieutenant Stevens worked really hard on that for a long time. Really got into the, a fine level of granularity this and maximized the money that we had available to spend on this. And I think we got a really good product out of it. And, tip of the hat to Lieutenant Salinas and Lieutenant Stevens for the effort that they put in on this. That concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. There was a theft at CVS recently.
Yes.
Yeah, because
No.
do you know if there? I went in there.
Yeah,
the
maybe
other
we
day
can
and there
clarify
was-
what that was.
Yeah.
there was-
Okay.
yeah,
So
what was it?
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say I saw a security guard in there when I went in there, like the day after Halloween or something.
Oh, okay.
So
I think what you're referring to is we had a report of, well, here's what happened. Individual goes into the CVS, has a backpack. They have a no backpack policy. Younger looking, like late teens when it do. Yeah. Anyway, one of the employees keeping an eye on him. The individual sees the employee keeping an eye on him, confronts the employee. Hey, why you watching me? Why you mad dogging me? That kind of stuff. He's like, hey, we have a no backpack policy. Can you put your backpack up there, please? And then feel free to shop or go wherever you want. Well, then he gets attitude about that. One thing leads to another, verbal exchange. He lifts up a sweatshirt or a large shirt. Has what looks like a legit handgun in there. doesn't pull it out, but that's a brandishing. And then leaves. Okay, so it got reported as a theft, as robbery, it wasn't, it was just a brandishing. I'm not insignificant, but that was the worst of it. No confrontation, no other violence or anything like that. So it kind of grew legs, social media legs.
Yeah, I got a lot of comments to me about that, and I'm like, well, I'll see what I can find out. But I'm glad to hear it wasn't a theft. And he was just in there with a backpack, and I'll let those people know.
Thank you. I
The
appreciate
full
that.
details. Thank you, Chief.
A question about the other fatal vehicle versus pedestrian. Was the pedestrian in a crosswalk on the one on Marion?
Yeah, there was, yes, in the intersection, legally crossing, but there's no actual striped out crosswalk.
Okay, but legal crossing, I guess
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
my better
legal,
question.
at the threshold.
Yeah. That's too bad. Any other questions for Chief?
No, just thank you, Chief. Keep up the good work, with your department.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks again to Lieutenant Salinas for the flock stuff. Having worked for him and with him, he is, if nothing else, thorough. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
That's years of homicide detective stuff inside of him. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we will move to item 13, which is the Brown Act update under SB 707. Staff report by City Clerk Abigail Palsgard. This is exciting to have you up here.
Very excited. Hello, Mayor Purcell, council members. On October 3rd, 2025, Governor Newsom signed SB 707 into law. SB 707 makes major updates to the Brown Act, which will become effective on July 1st, 2026. SB 707 aims to modernize meetings, increase public participation. Because the city of Kingsburg is in Fresno County, which has a population of over 600,000 people, we are what they call an eligible legislative body, even though our population is only 13,000 people. Because of this, we must provide two-way virtual participation during public meetings. We must adopt a policy for handling virtual disruptions. So if our internet goes down or our live stream stops working, we'll have to have a policy saying what we're going to do. And if there's a disruption, we must try to restore the service for at least 1 hour. So we'd have to recess the meeting, do our IT and work on fixing it. If we're not able to fix it, then you guys would have a finding motion to continue, and then we would continue our meeting without the virtual participation. During COVID, we used a conference line. Luckily, everyone was very respectful during that time, even during our long public comment meeting that we had. This probably will not be an option with recent Zoom bombings that you guys may have read about in other communities where people jump on virtual comments like this and they have hate speech. So we'll work on a system where we can limit hate speech, be able to mute individuals and remove them, and keep a respectful meeting. Staff will bring forward several items prior to July 1st to ensure compliance with SB 707. These will include implementation of a two-way phone or video platform for public participation, adoption of policy addressing service disruptions for virtual participation, develop a policy for outlining expectations for meeting decorum, updates to the city's public meetings webpage, and a plan for outreach for underprivileged communities. As of right now, the census page hasn't been updated since the government shut down. But from what I researched before, as of right now, our language requirements won't make it so we have to translate our agenda. The threshold's 20%, and we're at 9% of our citizens that speak English less than very well. So, but that can change in the future, but that's where we're at right now. There's a lot of information in your staff report that covers everything. We have to give Brown Act books to all council members and committee members, and so there's stuff like that also. I'm open to any questions.
Council discussion?
Okay, you said that threshold was, we're at 9% for that does not speak English very well. But does that mean it has to be a certain language that it would be translated into? I mean, that seems vague that, it's 9%. It could be a multitude of languages. So that opens us up to.
Yeah, that's the threshold. So it doesn't have to
multitude.
be one language.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's 20% combined with all languages, then we have to provide translation services for every language that's brought up? Or if it's just, let's just say we have 18% Spanish and we had 3% that was Punjabi, would that be required to provide?
It says jointly by 20% or more of applicable population that also speaks English less than very well. I didn't really get into the weeds of that since it's not us yet. Yeah, it's more research into the virtual participation. It would seem cumbersome if we had to translate for every single language that speaks less than very well, but this feels pretty cumbersome overall.
Close public comment and come back for council discussion. I have a question. Right. I have a question real quick just about the virtual. So that's going to be, it's just listed as like a two-way communication, potential video, potential audio. Can we require the video show their face kind of uncovered? I think that'll get rid of a lot of this Zoom bombing, things like that. If we require them to, you have to show your face. It has to be non-masked, so that we can see who that is during that time. Is that a possibility, or is that?
I don't know if that's if we have that legal ability. I do know, I mean, to be honest, it's going to happen pretty quickly. So when let's say we're doing it over Zoom and I'm doing all of this and they check in and I check to see that they're showing a face, and once it's time for their public comment, what happens once it's their turn and they're on the screen, I don't know what's going to happen.
It would just be nice if as soon as that switches towards not their face specifically speaking, anything else, we can end it.
We're going to bring a policy for decorum. So that's something that we could look into to see if that's a requirement that we could add to that.
Yeah, I think the challenge is we might have to be a person that manages all this during the meetings, because Abby's doing it now, but if you're starting to add, a bunch of that and she's trying to take minutes, and it just becomes something that we're going to have to figure out what the best solution is for us. And I don't know if it's only, if it has to be video, can it only be phone, right? Like if our internet goes down, but our phones are up, can we continue to have the meeting? Because you can still participate virtually, right? So, we're going to have to work our way through it over the next several months.
I have a question. And looking up the law, it says that it's effective January 1st, 2026. Do we have 6 months? Because I saw you said July.
It should be July 1st. I might have had a typo then.
Some of the items are January 1st. I think some of them are July 1st.
And it was going to be January 1st, and then they changed it to July 1st also during the process of the bill going through.
Okay.
There's some portions of the bill that talk about council members being able to participate virtually, and I think some of those can go into effect earlier as part of it. But I believe the policy and our requirement to do the two-way is delayed until July.
Extending the what happened during COVID, and you guys voted against the virtual side of it, but that you guys could always change that also. But
How often has our web or our internet gone down that we haven't been able to do meetings virtually? say in the last 2 years.
Since we've moved to Zoom, we haven't had Zoom to YouTube. We haven't had as many issues.
Yeah, so the building is hardwired. So as long as someone doesn't hit sometimes we have issues with Wi-Fi, but the actual computer that runs the stuff is hardwired into the fiber. So that shouldn't be an issue. We've had some issues with the camera previously, but now we've moved to Zoom, and so that seems to have rectified. It's been more, I would say, on the software side than
It has happened.
internet side. Yeah.
But probably user error for sharing and, but yeah, our
So
platform's been working pretty good now.
So that wouldn't really be an issue. I mean, we wouldn't foresee that as being,
Yeah.
a hard job. Okay.
Anything else? Thank you. Next, we'll move to future agenda items, of which there are none. And so we will move to the city manager's report.
Just a couple of brief items, both dealing with the intersection at Draper and Simpson, or Old Golden State. So ever since we redid phase 2 of Golden State, or in that section Simpson, we redid the intersections there. So there's been some issues with the traffic sensors there. So they've just basically been timed lights. So we've got some questions, gotten some questions about that. So they've been out doing the loops and the phasing. It is a little bit more intricate there because it also has to communicate with the railroad crossing. So when the train comes through, the lights have to blink. So they're continuing to work on it. I'm hopeful that will be completed pretty quickly. The other item has to do with the railroad crossing itself at Draper. So a few weeks ago, we put out we've gotten a lot of complaints about the condition of the secondary track line there. We put out some information to the community that they could report it. And apparently they answered significantly. So we actually had the railroad reach out to us pretty quickly to schedule a meeting, and they've already actually submitted for an encroachment permit and traffic control. So we're trying to just time up when they'll do that, because they'll actually have to close that crossing for a couple of days, but we want to make sure that we're also addressing any of the ADA issues that might exist on our side as well. But hopefully very soon we will have a smoother path of travel, which will include vehicle travel as well. And then hopefully we can get them to push over to the Earl Street crossing, because we have a similar problem there. But kudos to the community for putting some pressure on the railroad. And apparently they got tired of all the complaints. And so it's the quickest I've seen the railroad move. That's all.
Didn't we post that? Didn't you post that? Like how to contact them?
Yeah, we did.
Good job.
I think they're always still accepting. It's always on the internet, so you can go on their page and you can pick the actual site, or actual location that they have. So you can do the Earl Street one. But it's probably what we'll do next if they don't just kick it over. We don't want them doing the same time, obviously, because of the traffic detour. We'll have to actually go over to that one and then around, especially we're in school and stuff. But so we'll get that out. They're going to put message boards out in advance prior to the closure, both directions on Draper. So hopefully you'll be seeing that pretty soon. That's all.
Okay, next we're going to move on to the council member reports and committee reports, starting with council member Silva.
Thank you, Mayor Purcell. Not much to report this council, since there was a couple holidays. The Economic Development Committee did not meet, but I know that the Swedish Mill is progressing, so I just wanted to report out that staff has looked at the inside of that building, and so it's really coming along nicely. They do have a little timing issue on some of the equipment inside the building, and I know that Dave Peters is reviewing more of the site plan parking structure. So that is progressing. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I just did want to let everybody know that. Obviously, Quick Corner is coming along as well. You guys can see the construction there, as well as the 76 next to the dollar store. In addition to that, there has been several inquiries about new businesses potentially coming into the business park. Very on the infant stage, but it's always good to see that there's activity, right? So that's a good thing for us. So hopefully something will come of that. South Kings GSA has not met. And then the San Joaquin Valley Air has not met as well. So with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilmember North.
Have a lot. I'll start with bid. Bid was yesterday. They were approached with the idea of a Swedish phone booth downtown that has recorded messages. They were supportive of the idea. They requested more information, cost, timeline, proposed locations, so that they could discuss it more. They continued discussions about promoting dollar dollars. If you remember that during COVID, it's still a thing. They are updating their website. They sent out emails, actually Abby did, to all of their businesses for updated photos, information, so that it's all current. Christmas trees are going in on the 13th and the 14th. They'll be downtown decorating on the 16th. If you're not busy, come join them. They discussed renting the dollar trolley on Saturday mornings during December. And they were going to talk to the chamber to see if Santa would also be available. And so they called a special meeting for the 7th, so this Friday morning, and that's the only item they're going to be voting on, is to approve the money that would be spent on renting the dollar trolley. The other thing with bid is Saturday was the holiday kickoff downtown with, here we had Halloween on Friday, and then Saturday was Christmas. You know, everything's decked out for Christmas. So it was a lot of fun downtown if you got a chance to go. I know I saw your wife down there, and the dollar trolley was doing rides, and there were a lot of people on it. I was down here early, and there were a lot of people enjoying the dollar trolley. The next thing is Chamber of Commerce. Hasn't met since we met last time. The next meeting is on November 18th, but a few things to note that have taken place. They had, I think it was over 1,200 children trick-or-treating on Friday downtown. It was so fun, so cute, and a big shout out to the chamber and all the businesses, because the businesses buy all that candy for those children, and it's just a fun time. And side note, In-N-Out is not coming to Kingsburg. Our city staff had fun with that, all decked out. Yet I heard him say business park, that there's infant stage, right? So let's start that rumor. Only if they're Swedish, right? Only if they're Swedish. Okay, moving on Tuesday from 7 to 12 at the Senior Center is going to be our Veterans Breakfast, and they'll have a program after that. 11/28 from 5 to 7, Jugendfest. Did I say it right? Close enough? Correct me.
Julgransfest.
Julgransfest is going to start in the Memorial Park. And if anybody's listening and you have not done this, you have to come out with your family. It's magical. So you start at Memorial Park. We light one tree. Our mayor will say a few words. And then we all walk down Main Street singing Christmas carols down to our big tree right out here. And then we count down. And I have it from like some good sources that when we count down, the tree will actually light this year. Santa helps us count down, and then Santa's there. And it's just a fun way to kick off the month before Christmas. I also wanted to mention that Margie in our town, you all know Margie, right? She does something special the day before Thanksgiving. She's going to do it at Smokehouse. And I know we have a lot of families that are struggling, and it's the holidays. So she hosts a community Thanksgiving. So if you don't have family, if you are struggling, contact Smokehouse to get the details, and you can go have Thanksgiving there. If you want to volunteer, they also need help. So if you want to go help cook or serve or whatever she needs there, you can contact Smokehouse for that. Center Point, which was called Five Cities before, we met on the 23rd of October in Selma. The main highlights from that was they have a job training program called FAME. It's really great. They gave a lot of information on that. And then they also talked about a FEMA disaster grant. And from my understanding, their understanding was all of California was declared a disaster. Was it 23 and 24 was on the grant? Yeah.
For the floods.
For the floods and the fires. And they have millions of dollars available for grants. So I passed that on to Alex to see if our emergency response center that we're going to build on the other side / City Hall might qualify for that. So he's going to do some research with that. COG and FCRTA. I filled in for Mayor Purcell. FCRTA, they just did updates on chargers and our parking and microgrid that's going to go in over here. That was it with FCRTA. COG, they talked about some grants that are available, state and federal grants. They passed a state transportation improvement program for some improvements. They're not close, really close here. South Fresno, State Route 99, by American Avenue, also North Avenue, Excelsior Expressway, and 41, Kings County line to Elkhorn Avenue. So some improvements they're going to do there. The big discussion was Measure C, and we've heard that from Mayor Purcell. One of the things that they did do is they contracted with BBK, which we have done the same with for our Measure E, for legal services to help with Measure C. There was a lot of discussion / arguing about it. There's like no consensus. They're talking about the steering committee, and the steering committee has way too many people on it, way too many cooks in the kitchen. They cannot come to agreements. And so they are hopeful that by November 20th, the COG meeting that they have there, that they will have something to present to COG, which then they'll get to discuss. And they're asking that all of the mayors really look at the priorities and have them narrowed down, because the steering committee is not made up of the mayors. It's made up of the citizens, correct? And yeah. And so they don't have the same knowledge base always. So they're an informational committee, but they're asking that the mayors really have their priorities narrowed down, and November 20th, it's supposed to come to them. They can hash it out, then bring it to council. The hope is that they can bring it to councils in February. I wouldn't hold my breath on that, like just in the conversations that we're having there. If it doesn't go to the November 20th COG meeting, they will hold a December COG meeting, which they usually go dark. That was it for me.
So before we move on, just because it's going to tie in a little bit to mine, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the COG stuff. The Measure C, it's a mess. Like, thank you for giving me a breath on that. It's been terrible. We do have one citizen member from Kingsburg, and she's doing a great job. She hasn't missed a single meeting. She's very communicative. I think that she has an understanding of what Kingsburg is looking for and what we need. Unfortunately, like you said, she's one of dozens of people. It's ridiculous. With over half of that being very special interest group, that is not, it just doesn't work for Kingsburg. So they are having their final steering committee meeting tomorrow night, and our representative will be there. And they're supposed to come up with final numbers for recommendations for allocations. It's basically, what are we going to do with these billions of dollars? I would say that I would be very surprised if they can come to consensus for that. I will also be even more surprised if those numbers are not absolutely ridiculous. Their numbers haven't even been close so far. It's tragic with what they're doing. My opinion, it's probably going to tank the entire measure, and we're going to end up with citizen initiatives for the entire thing. So it's not looking good. We'll keep grinding, fingers crossed, but I don't anticipate bringing back great news from that. So by the next council meeting, we should at least have numbers we can talk about. But that's it for the COG stuff. Councilmember Smith.
Okay, the Finance Committee didn't meet. Okay, the Community Services Commission met, and we got an update on the Parks Master Plan. They've been soliciting community input. There was some additional funding that they used on additional fencing there along the side. That's been done. And Caltrans has been out there cleaning up, and they're going to work on addressing the fence on that side. There's been some concerns, and they were talking about putting the slats in. So that's still to come. We got an update on the Kings Estate playground, and the Community Services Commission did the trunk or treat in the park, and from what I hear, they had a huge turnout. Other than that, I attended the Fair Trade ribbon cutting. That's the pop-up store here on Draper Street. And then there was a ribbon cutting for A&J Chalkboard Academy on Plumas and 18th. So that's a new preschool, 2 to 5 year old preschool there. And then I got to enjoy the downtown holiday kickoff. It was wonderful. All the stores open. We had a great time.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Public Safety Committee, we will be meeting on November 18th. Planning Commission, we're scheduled to meet 11/13, and SKF also 11/13. So we have all those committees that haven't met since our last meeting. We're all going to meet this month. Kingsburg High football plays Danube in the playoffs Friday night. Their team ended up 7-3, and are co-champions of our league. They had a pretty good season. So 7 wins, only 3 losses, and if you get a chance, go support the Vikings against Danube Friday night, 7 o'clock.
Mayor Purcell, I had one more. Councilmember North jogged my memory on the chamber item. So for those of you who haven't met Lauren Nickel, she's the new chamber director, and she is, I think, doing an amazing job keeping people updated on things. And so they're already talking about on Wednesday, November 12th, having the first 2026 car show committee meeting. So they're already progressing and getting that committee organized, and she's doing a great job of getting everybody's schedules, trying to line them up. So that's going to be at the Chamber of Commerce on November 12th at 5:30. So I just wanted to mention that.
Awesome. Thank you. For me, coming up this next week, I'm going to be doing another Minutes with the Mayor television show. So I think that's going to give us a good opportunity to showcase more of our things that we're having, especially for the holiday. I mean, obviously the magical time for Kingsburg, right? To showcase that. And I know of at least one other news outlet that's going to want to come downtown and do some just live stuff in downtown once we get it all decorated and ready to go. So those things are awesome. The other thing is, before the Selma Kingsburg football game, I was fortunate enough to go to the downtown pep rally. It's one of those things that's just, it's such a Kingsburg thing. You know, they shut down downtown. They have all high school kids come down here. The business owners come down and they get kids ready for a football game. It's a great event. And I will say that, you know, fortunate 2 years now that they've asked me to come speak at it. And I will tell you, out of everything with the mayor, it's both the funnest thing to do and also the hardest speech to give, because you got to go up there and act like you're the mayor and act like you're giving a locker room pep speech. It's a real fine line to go between, but it's awesome. I was super thankful to be invited for that. And that's all I have. Does anyone else have anything? Staff, public, or anything? Okay. The last thing tonight is, normally this is where we adjourn. Tonight's going to be a little different. Tonight, we're going to adjourn the meeting in memory of Leonard Shalene, just honoring his life and his service to our community. There's going to be another item that's going to come back later where we're going to have his family come to talk more about that. But for tonight, we want to just do an adjournment in his memory. So I believe this is the first time that's ever happened in Kingsburg that we know of here. So with that, we'll adjourn.